So 16, you're playing football in high school, and you already had your sights on NFL.
My situation was a little bit different. The average NFL player lifespan is 3.7 years.
Yeah.
So, in the beginning, I was just trying to make 5 years to beat the average. And then I got to 10.
What led you to the world of insurance?
Insurance is, it's viewed very differently by a lot of different people, but it just provides financial security.
Hello, you beautiful people. Welcome back to Talkin St. Pete. I'm your host, Ryan Bogdan. And before we dive into today's awesome guest, I want to let you know that this episode is sponsored by Bogdan Homes and our newest sponsor, Moore's Resource Insurance. So let's talk about them for a second. Are you looking for an insurance coverage that's unique to the Sunshine City itself? Look no further. Moore's Resource Insurance is a trusted partner right here in St. Petersburg. They offer more carriers and more market options than any other agency in Tampa Bay. As a multi-line agency, they provide comprehensive commercial and personal line coverage to meet your needs. In the world of insurance, a tongue twister this morning. If you have insurance in the name, they cover it. Home, auto, boat, yacht, renters, life, business, workers' compensation, you name it. And the best part, they have a 5-star rating on all the places that you could leave a review on the internet. With over 16 years of dedicated service, they have been delivering exceptional customer service. If you're looking to get a free quote, check out www.davidmooreinsurance.com. And that is a great introduction to our guest here today. We have the CEO and president of Moore's Resource Insurance and former NFL player, Dave Moore. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're super excited about this. I mean, I'm trying to think, what direction do we even start with? First, welcome. Thank you. Appreciate you. Everything that you've done for the area and the Tampa Bay Bucks back in your time when you're playing and still hosting the radio show. So we're grateful to have you here.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to come and talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just make sure that this is good so these awesome people can hear you.
Yeah.
So before we dive into NFL, because I know a lot of people listening are going to want to know about that, what were you like when you were 16 years old?
I was exactly the same height I am now. Probably close to the same weight I am now, but obviously I was playing football. Actually, I was working at Pizza Hut as a kid. 16, I was probably a sophomore in high school. But at that point is when I started working to play in college in the NFL. So it's funny you picked that age because that was really when, you start thinking about where you want to be, what you want to do. And
well, not everyone, but you did.
NFL. Yes.
Okay, so 16. I don't even know why I started with that question, but it just felt like a fun place to go. So 16, you're playing football in high school, and you already had your sights on NFL.
It was at that point. I played basketball, baseball, and football. Played soccer before that. I was just a guy, whatever sport was in season, I was playing.
Yeah.
But at that point is when I knew I wasn't going to be tall enough to go play basketball anywhere, and baseball was too slow for me.
Right.
So I knew football was going to be, and really that was the driving force to go to college, because at that point I really didn't have interest to go into college except to play a sport. So that's really where I started to concentrate on the football thing, and our high school team was pretty good.
Nice.
So at that point I just kind of, focused on that.
And then you ended up going to Pittsburgh, correct?
Yes, I went to the University of Pittsburgh. I played there. And then I got drafted by the Miami Dolphins and then wound up in Tampa in November of 1992.
So is that what brought you here to the local area?
Yes. Honestly, I grew up in New Jersey.
Yeah.
I had no interest in moving to Florida, for sure. I had some buddies that did. But, obviously I got drafted to Miami. I spent Hurricane Andrew in Miami. That was my first year.
Welcome to Miami.
And then when they signed Keith Jackson, I might have been the first casualty of free agency, because Keith Jackson was the very first free agent, and he signed with the Miami Dolphins, and then I got let go and came up to Tampa.
And I mean, then you spent a good bit of time with the Buccaneers, 92 to 2001, and you fell in love with the area.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I played here for 10 years, and I played in Buffalo for 2, and then came back for 3 more. So I played a total of 15 altogether. But once I got here, I was like, I'm I'm not going back to New Jersey.
Not going back.
My kids are born and raised here, so we just kind of made it home. And even when I played in Buffalo, we only stayed up there for the football season. And after the New Year, they came back and picked up school here.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Being here for 10 years and then going to Buffalo, I'm sure that was a little...
like going from Cuba to Canada.
Right.
Yeah. It was cold. You forgot how cold is.
Right. So, you get spoiled staying down here. Okay, well, that's great. So I want to get into business, but let's talk more about your NFL career there. I mean, what you had your sights set on it at a young age, so it's cool that we started there. You get picked up. I mean, what was that transition like, going from college to the NFL?
I mean, it was the biggest difference is the speed of the game in general. Like, you know, in high school, every once in a while you play against a good player or two. And in college, everybody's good. But when you get to the NFL, it's like the best of the best from every team. So there's no time to react. You have to anticipate everything. It all happens so fast. So a lot of guys have trouble from college to the pros because of just everything happens so much faster.
Right.
So it takes some time to get used to that. And, you know, once you get it figured out and learn exactly and understand what teams are trying to do, I mean, it's really just a chess match, you know, except the problem is your pieces aren't always doing what you're asking them to do from a coaching standpoint, you know.
Right.
But honestly, it's, you know, I got to the point at the end of my career, I played fullback for a year under Sam Weish, played H-back with Tony Dungy, with Mike Shula as the offense coordinator, and then I was more of a traditional tight end. And at the end of my career, I long snapped a little bit. But I was at the point at the end of my career that I can get to the line of scrimmage, get my stance, and by where guys were lined up and what they were doing, I can tell you where the coverage was good, what the coverage was going to be, where I could be open if I was running a pass route, or I can, you know, figure out who I was trying to beat before the ball was even snapped.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of things that you got to be able to learn to stay, you know, and be able to play for a long period of time.
Well, and you did. You had 200 plus consecutive games. I saw that. So so you must have had what was your routine like in terms of taking care of your body to be able to do that, not take any injuries?
Yeah, it was. Well, the older you get, obviously, as a young guy, you played a game Sunday, and by Tuesday, you know, the soreness is gone and you're ready to go. When you're in your 12th to 15th year, it's more like Thursday, the soreness goes away.
Right.
So, you know, I'd have to get in the hot tub and on the treadmill to warm up to practice at the end. So, but that's the age thing is, you know, you just got to spend a lot more time in the cold tub and
so you use a lot of ice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you take a beating.
Oh, yeah.
I've had 15, 16 surgeries, a few broken bones, concussions, collapsed lung. I've had a lot of stuff over the years.
Wow. And were those surgeries and everything during your career, but you didn't miss that many games?
Right. They were in the off season. So a lot of them were arthroscopic.
Got it.
It's, you know, meniscus, spurs, stuff like that. I had a neck surgery in an off season, but I mean, nothing, it wasn't they're more clean out maintenance type surgeries.
Yeah. Well, in the game, the rules have changed, you know, with some of the hits, but when you were playing, I mean, it was a little more ruthless, I feel like, in terms of what they were calling.
Yeah, well, they could lead with their head, and the concussion thing was, you know, obviously, I think if I played now, I probably, you know, wouldn't have nearly as many as I had, but it needed to be, because that's the thing, you know, obviously when you go run around and you pound every day, you know you're going to wind up with arthritis and new hips and knees, but the problem is the concussion thing. You have no idea what the long-term effects are going to be, and it affects everybody differently. So it's a tough one to anticipate what's going to happen. So that's why, as they learn more with the, you know, CTE stuff, and they're trying to be more careful. They've re-engineered all the helmets are completely different now. The rules are different. I mean, the game in general is different.
Yeah. Well, how did the game change? Did you see it change in the years that you were there?
My first year playing, there was no free agency yet, right? That didn't come around until '93. So there were players that actually had jobs and businesses they ran in the off season, just because, you know, I think, you know, the average salary at that time was, you know, $150,000 or something. Right. It wasn't anything significant. I think Dan Marino was the highest paid player in the league at $1 million a year. Now you have quarterbacks making $40 million a year.
Right.
So it was just different. And at time in camp, when you'd come in for the 4 weeks, was literally to get guys in shape to be able to play. Now, because of the money and the competition, there is really no off season. I mean, they take about 4 weeks off and they get right back into working out, conditioning. They have dietitians, they have, nutritionists, they have chiropractors that travel and physical therapy guys. Like we showed up, we had one trainer and, you were eating a double cheeseburger on the way to the game.
Right. It's
so
way different.
Completely different.
Way different.
I actually in Miami, I showed up and I had an ashtray in my locker.
Really?
There was actually some guys at that time that still smoked and played.
Wow. Talk about
some very famous guys too. I'm not going to call them out.
Right. That's actually pretty funny.
It is.
That how time has changed in medical research and everything else of what we learned how to optimize the body. And so imagine how the game's probably even faster now because guys are faster.
Right. And I get on the team playing and the defensive backs are as big as I was, and I was a tight end. So now the tight ends they all look like basketball players. They're 6'6", 6'7". So yes, it's changed. Guys are bigger, faster, stronger.
That's pretty cool. It's really cool that you're still involved. So how has that been? How was that transition for you? And I know that rolls into then you're starting your business in 2007. Did you have your eyes and sights on that as you were getting out? Did you know that you were going to go into business of some kind? Or
yeah, well, it's a little bit. My situation was a little bit different. The average NFL player lifespan is 3.7 years.
Yeah.
So, in the beginning, I was just trying to make 5 years to beat the average. Mm-hmm. And then I got to 10, So obviously you don't get faster and feel better as you get older, right? So as I got in excess of 10 years, and I really started thinking about, what I was going to do afterwards. Like I said, I played before free agency started, so the money is nothing like the money today, obviously. So I knew, I was going to get into something else. Mm-hmm. So, and it's very difficult to do that while you're playing because, the off season, you still have to work out, you still have to do things. So you can't. So most players would invest. So say you had a great idea and, the players were the money guys to do that. And, I saw case after case where the business failed or they got ripped off or something happened where it just wasn't, as lucrative as they were hoping it was going to be. Yep. So I knew that it was going to have to be something that I was going to have to be involved in day to day. So I did Mike Allstott myself, and another guy got into a restaurant, and it's still there, the Island Way Grill in Clearwater Beach. We opened that in 2001.
Awesome. And
we got into it because of Frank Chevis and what he's been able to do with Salt Rock and all of his restaurants. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like a normal player where you take a likeness of an athlete and then try to sell food with it. We got in just because of him, not because of us,
right.
But outside of that, I knew that I was going to need to do something else. So I did, when I was getting ready to retire, I had the opportunity to do the radio for the game broadcast with Gene Deckerhoff. So when I retired in the same press conference, they announced me as the radio analyst for the Bucks. But again, I wasn't sure how, long that was going to last or if it was going to be something that I enjoyed. So right before I finished playing is when I started really thinking about what type of business I was going to get in.
Which leads me to what led you to the world of insurance? I mean, of all things, coming from NFL career and now Dave is selling insurance.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I get asked that question more than any other.
I bet.
Because you go NFL to
now you can just play this clip back.
Pure excitement, life of insurance, right? But a friend of mine that I had met before I finished, he owned what they call a PEO, which is basically a payroll company that has a master workers' comp policy. Mm-hmm. And at that time, the workers' comp rates were really high. This was, 2005. Contractors, it was very difficult, like roofers, tree trimmers, guys, the blue-collar guys. It was hard for them to get coverage because the carriers didn't want to cover them if they had 3 tree trimmers because it wasn't worth the premium they're going to collect for the exposure of somebody falling out of a tree.
Right.
So he owned that. So I kind of introduced him to, every blue collar guy in America is a football fan. So I started, connecting him. And so I started, writing some PEO business. But the same contractor's like, well, you help me with the workers' comp. Can you help me do the general liability, the auto? Turns out that the same guy that owned the PEO owned an insurance agency. So I went and got my insurance license. And I wrote the insurance downstairs and the PEO upstairs. And I got really busy in a very short period of time and decided to open my own agency. So I didn't invest in one. I didn't buy one. I actually started it from the very first policy.
That's awesome.
That was in 2008 is when I officially opened the agency. I started writing insurance. It's really right after I retired, a few months after I retired.
So it was just a matter of the right connections,
that
network,
was really, I kind of fell into
time.
doing it. And then, you felt good about doing it because you were, insurance is, it's viewed very differently by a lot of different people, but it just provides financial security.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a risk versus exposure. If you don't want to insure your house, that's fine. And that's a tangible number that you can figure out what it's going to cost you to replace it.
Yep.
But liability is not something that, if somebody gets hurt and you're negligent, I mean, we've seen the Morgan & Morgan commercials and all the other personal, that's something that you don't want to be sitting there with no insurance. I mean, I tell players a lot of times, NFL players will be like, oh, I'm not going to insure the house. I'll just write a check to build a new one. But you got to remind them about the liability portion because it's scary. So I enjoyed doing it. I enjoyed educating people. I went and got my CIC, which is a certified insurance counselor. It's kind of like an MBA in insurance. People would meet with me because I played football, but if I didn't know what the heck I was talking about, they would shake my hand, pat me on the back, and be like, it was great to meet you.
Right.
And I'd never see them again. So we don't necessarily sell. We do more educating on, what potentially bad could happen out there, and you'd be surprised.
Well, I find that that's super important, and risk. I used to sell life insurance, disability, and all that.
Right.
So I'm well versed in that world and understand the perils and the risk and all the things that can come of it from a mitigation standpoint and the costs. Right. So it is important to protect. And I think it's a foundation to business and your personal life and everything. It's extremely important because you don't know, you don't want those unexpected costs or what things could be if you were to have some liability or, on the home front. I get people, in Florida, we have this thing with the flood insurance.
Right.
Big topic right now with the last storm that came through and some issues there. But at the same time, it's like, what's the risk of not having it? Right.
Exactly. So it's the financial security when something bad happens.
Yeah, it's a peace of mind. What's keeping you up at night?
Right.
I don't want that to be something.
Yeah, and the most difficult thing with that is, the way the insurance market right now is, it's a disaster. Because of a lot of the litigation, we had a lot of homeowners carriers back out. They changed some legislation, which will hopefully help that. Same with the auto legislation, with the personal injury stuff. But the hurricanes, obviously it becomes very difficult. And when you have a big storm like Ian destroy Fort Myers and it was all flood damage, and the most you can get through the NFIP, the FEMA, is $250,000, but you're in $1 million house or a $500,000 house. So the excess flood is so expensive. So that's when you try to explain, like, okay, you can get this through the NFIP for $250,000. If you want more than that, the quote's going to be $16,000 for another $500, and they're like, I don't want it, but yet, you're going to be paying that $500,000 out of your pocket if you don't get it, and that's where it becomes difficult.
Well, like you said, the education point on that, and then it's just measuring people's risk tolerance on
and that's it. And I'm okay with as long as you and I know at the end of the day what coverage you have and what you don't, so you don't call me in the middle of the night and say this just happened, and I'll be like, remember we had this conversation? You don't have it.
Remember when you told me, said I'm a risk taker? Yeah. Okay, well, that's great. And so now you guys been humming in business, since 2008. So you're making it through all, that there was economic crash then, everything. Right. Did that affect your business at all?
No, I actually started in 2008, and that was on the heels of Katrina and Wilma, and so the insurance market was very similar to what it is now without the housing collapse. But we started rolling in and had really not slow down.
Yeah.
I mean, we have 25. How many employees we got, Jake, now? 25. So, I mean, we've been fortunate, but again, and we've worked hard to make sure we have all the carriers available, because that's the thing. Some of the agencies, if they primarily focus on personal lines or even ones that do commercially, the key is, how many tools can I have in my tool belt?
Yep.
So if we have all the available carriers, if you go down the street and get a quote, it's going to be pretty much what we've already presented or have access to. So that's what we've worked hard to do, to make sure that I don't have 3 carriers to give you one quote and you're pretty much stuck if you want to be with me with one of those. We're going to try to put you in the best spot we can.
Well, that's good. That's more options are better to, have.
Especially in the market right now.
Yeah.
Because, I got some quotes this morning that on a commercial building that the premium ranged from $8,000 to $30,000 for the same amount of coverage, but it's just based on carriers and their tolerance and their appetite and capacity. So it's surprising.
That's a big difference.
No, and it's frustrating because a lot of tough conversations right now.
Yeah, with all the care, I'm sure, and how to educate people. What's the difference? Am I really getting the same thing at that cost?
Right.
That's tough. That's tough. So your seeds are here in St. Pete. You got your roots deep. I know you were head coach at Shorecrest there for a little bit.
I was, and then I went over and coached at Jesuit.
Nice.
Shorecrest.
Yeah.
That's where.
So what was that like, getting into the coaching game of high school, knowing like we said, if we bring it back, 16, you're in high school, you're there, and now I think you go through this whole career and then you kind of circle back and you're head coach of one of the top schools here in the area. What was that?
No, it was. I mean, obviously as a player, a lot of players like to do that.
Yeah.
You like to share what you've learned and experienced at the highest level, and then kind of help the kids. I loved dealing with the kids. The rest of it, I'll be as politically correct as I can, but dealing with the parents and all of the scheduling and, but being able to hang out with the kids and kind of mentor them, I really enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah.
It's hard to play at that level to kind of bring it down to be able to, at that level.
Yeah.
But once you get used to it, it's great because they really responded well, and, it was a great experience.
Yeah, well, and a level of respect, because it's coming from top level experience and not just some guy who.
Yeah, but I found myself, talking about, coverages and gaps, and these guys are looking at me like, what is he talking about? So I had to kind of
dumb it down.
I learned quickly,
I
had to start from step one. I just couldn't, even the lingo of how you describe things completely
15
different.
years in the NFL to that.
Right.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, I played for 25 years altogether, so. It was very different from where you
come back to kids that have been playing for 2, 3, 4, right? Yeah. 5. That's cool. So why St. Pete for you? I mean, you've watched this place transform.
Yes, I moved to St. Pete in '95. I'm a water guy. I'm a fisherman. I had a fishing show for a year after I retired in 2007.
What was that like?
That was actually to promote the PEO and the insurance stuff. So it was good. I mean, we took professional wrestlers, athletes, fishing, people that normally don't, spend a lot of time fishing. And it was fun. It was on Sun Sports. We did it for a full year, but then I got really busy in the insurance and then stuff. But, I spend all my free time fishing. So when I moved here, and when I moved from New Jersey, if I wasn't by the water, I might as well be in a desert. It was so hot, I lived initially in Tampa, but then when I was looking to buy a house, I bought a house in Madeira Beach in '95. Nice. And I had been there ever since. I think I was the only guy in the whole Bucks franchise that couldn't vote on the stadium tax because I lived in Pinellas County. So yes, I've seen, even from '92 to now. I mean, I talk to my neighbors all the time that have seen it way back, but it's very different from when I got it. Even when the kids were at Shorecrest, I would drop them off at Baywalk at the movie theater. I'm like, when you come out of here, do not move. We don't want you to, because that whole area was very vacant and quiet, and now it's insane to go down there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's transformed so much, especially from the early '90s to now, right? Most people I talk to, it's like, well, what's happened in the last 5 years, let alone the last 30 years. That's pretty cool to think about. And so out of Madeira, and your guys' office is downtown, so now there's more traffic and all that.
It's on 46th and Central, so it's away from the downtown, but it's moving in our direction.
Downtown is coming down Central.
It has changed a lot. We've been in that particular building since 2015, and even the whole residential community is coming our way. So, in the beginning, there wouldn't be many people walking on the sidewalk, but we have people walking their dogs, running every morning. And so it's definitely, and you've seen the apartment complexes that are whole city blocks start in the middle of downtown and are bumped up to 275 now.
Right.
So it's moving in that direction. And then the beach is, they're doing the whole beautification thing. They started on the beach side. So they're redoing all the sidewalks and, the lights and the evacuation, whatever, for the traffic lights. So they're working in that direction.
Because, the population is growing. Do you feel like it's going to slow down anytime soon?
I wouldn't think so. It's a cool, little community to have down there because it still has relatively that small town feel to it. Mm-hmm. You go in and we write the insurance for several of the businesses down there, and they all know each other. It's pretty good. The business owners, it's a pretty tight-knit community down there. So, and it's kept the little storefronts. You haven't seen CVS come in and put drive-throughs and McDonald's. If they're going to be there, they have to fit into the landscape. So I think from a city council standpoint, and they're doing the right thing on growing the right way rather than having some high dollar franchise come down and kind of change the landscape.
It changes the culture if that happens. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, you're right. That's what we talk about this all the time. But the small business community here is so tight knit. Everyone knows each other. I've learned that from this show. I have one person. Oh, I know this and this person. Right? Everyone knows everybody, and it's its own culture in itself of community and helping. And if one new business is coming in, everyone's supporting it and helping launch it and get it off the ground. Where if, like you said, if there were some franchises to come in, it would really change the feel that we have.
For sure.
Yeah. And it keeps, but I think people that are attracted to that type of thing are the ones that keep coming here, and the city council and even the citizens are keeping that at bay because it's not wanted, right?
Right.
Where do you think St. Pete's going? What do you think it looks like in the next 5 years from now?
At the rate it's growing, Pinellas County is already the most densely populated county in Florida. Mm-hmm. So, there's the only way to go is up, right? So I think the downtown's going to continue to expand west, and then the beach is, starting to expand that way. I like Pinellas County is very unique because you have the bay and then you have the beach. They put the Sunrunner in there to take people from downtown to the beach, so it's easy. It's kind of killed First Avenue North and South. For me coming from the beach to get to the highway,
right, a little bit. But
I think they're trying to do it the right way because it is unique. I can jump in a boat, ride around downtown, go to the pier, go to Fresco's, park in a boat. People from Tampa can come over. It makes it easy by water, and it's if you've been on the water recently, any area on a weekend that has an open beach area, there's a boat, and everybody's on the water all the time. So it's unique in that aspect, but yet it has all of your typical downtown with your restaurants. Like downtown is so easy because you can walk everywhere. You just got to find a parking spot.
Yeah.
Once you find a parking spot, you can walk pretty much anywhere for the entire day or night and not have to, be jumping on a bus or Uber.
Yeah, the walkability is awesome.
It's great.
Yeah, and with all the parks down there and everything, yeah, it's really awesome. Like you said, it has to go up. And being in the business of real estate and people saying, well, the market, blah blah blah. I'm like, we're in a bubble.
Oh, we are in a unique place.
We're in a bubble, and I say, go downtown and count the cranes.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Where's the growth stopping? Because there's cranes everywhere down there going and going. Do you guys, and I'm not asking that for you to disclose, but do you know if things come in because of like businesses coming to you guys for insurance prior to anything happening? Do you got like inside
nothing
crazy
significant?
Yeah.
Most of the building down there right now is apartments, condos, that kind of stuff. So we don't come in. Unless we wrote the builder's risk for it, we don't come in until the backside for the people that are moving in there.
Got it.
I'm working with some of, restaurants that are signing leases and different concepts, but we'll let them promote those.
So what do you think St. Pete's missing?
Well, it's coming. I think everything is coming. That I don't know. There's anything glaring.
Some
that's
people have
missing.
something, some people don't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the one thing right now, but just because of the time and place in history, is more affordable housing for younger professional people to come move here. They're having to move up towards northern Pinellas and stuff like that. But just and maybe with a lot of the new apartments that they're building right now coming online, it'll kind of ease the pricing because they're getting to the point where it's difficult for, especially coming out of college, and you want those young professionals to come down and live here, and they're good for the community and they can contribute whatever, business type they're in, but they got to be able to afford to live down there. So,
Yeah, I agree.
and it's supply and demand too. So the fact that the rents are that much right now is good because the demand for people coming is good. But it's also going to help when you get the people that are going to help grow the community in there.
If my memory serves right, I think in the new Rays proposal of that stadium, that 80 acres that they're doing, I think there is some affordable housing that was a part of that project.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's going to be years to come.
And another one is they need to find a spot for a good park. There's no good downtown area without a good park because everybody's got a dog down there. They need to take them out and go sit in the grass,
Yeah.
That might be some of that development for the
some green space.
Yes.
Yeah.
That should be good.
More, we will need more because Vinoy can only handle so much.
Exactly.
You can't go to Vinoy without seeing somebody you know.
Right.
Yeah. Back to, I was just thinking about NFL stuff. What's a cool story that you can share, or something unique that happened that you never thought would be happening to? I don't know. Just what's a fun story from the NFL that you can share?
Most of the questions I get asked, who's the toughest guy you've played against?
There you go.
I have a lot of them. And I played in an era where, Lawrence Taylor was playing, Mike Singletary, Reggie
Who's
White.
hit you the hardest?
Well, there's a guy by the name of Sammy Knight. He played for the New Orleans Saints. And I was running a seam route in Raymond James, and I came around the linebacker and I saw the safety in the middle, but Brad Johnson was a quarterback. So I'm thinking he's not going to throw it to me. And when I turned around, the ball was in the air and in his direction. So as I went to catch the ball, I got hit this side of my head, and the first thing to hit the ground was this side of my head about 4 yards that way.
Whoa. Is that you?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And the problem is he hit me right when the ball got there, so I didn't even get to catch the ball.
Right.
But one of the better stories is Reggie White, who he was probably the best athlete on the field. He was a defensive lineman. But we were playing in Green Bay. He was a defensive end for the Green Bay Packers. And I went on a route, for a pass, and I came back, and he's yelling and pointing at the right tackle, saying, "Jesus Christ loves you, and he's going to save your soul." And I was like, and he was like a pastor, when he finished playing. So I just went over to tackle. I said, what'd you do to tick him off? He goes, "I cut him, and he wasn't expecting me to cut him, and he's mad." So for second down, he sacked the quarterback. Third down, he sacked the quarterback. And on fourth down, he stayed in on punt defense because we were punting and blocked the punt. So when I got to the sideline, I was like, you might not want to do that again.
Yeah.
So he was a guy that when he wanted to come, I don't care who you were. And there's highlight videos of, as good as the Dallas Cowboys offensive line has always been, him just tossing some of those 330-pound offensive linemen. But he was a guy that didn't play hard all the time. But when he wanted to come, you weren't going to stop him.
Well, you can't play that hard and make it. Like, right? Yeah. So that's turn it on. Yeah, that's
For sure.
pretty.
But I got to block Lawrence Taylor. He was at the end of his career, and I just tried to stay in his way without getting him mad at me either.
Yeah, the anger on the field and the emotions that are rolling. I mean, that plays a huge factor into the game. And I'm sure, like, as fans, you don't hear all the banter. I can't imagine.
Oh yeah, a lot of guys like to talk. Some guys don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, there was a lot of trash talkers for sure.
I bet. Getting your head a little bit. Yeah. Get things stirred up. It's part of the game, right? Staying mentally tough and
For sure.
being a good sport about it.
Trying to get somebody else's head
Right. Yeah.
to make them not think about what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't that guy. I didn't want to get them mad at me.
Yeah. Right.
So-
Because you didn't want to get hit. Right.
Right.
Oh, that's cool. When the Bucks recently won the Super Bowl, I read that you were able to get a ring. Is that right?
Yeah. The radio broadcast.
You got
Yeah.
it. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
It was good. Yeah, it was great. It was a great game to call. Obviously, if you're a Bucks fan, it was a great game all the way around.
Right.
And it was in Tampa because that was the COVID year. So we didn't travel with the team at all. We actually called, which is talk about challenging.
Right.
Gene Deckerhoff and I would call the games from Raymond James Stadium when the team was playing in the NFC Championship in Green Bay.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I had to, explain what was going on watching two computer monitors.
Yeah,
'Cause
not being there.
They
and
would
feeling
live
the
stream the
energy,
game.
yeah.
So it was different. And then, during a TV timeout, you look out the window and you see the sprinklers on the grass in Raymond James. So, but it was great because it was at home and we did call the game from the stadium.
Yeah.
With
Made the best of it that you could.
With 20,000 cardboard people in the stands mixed in with the fans they allowed in.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but it was
What a strange time.
It was very,
Strange time.
but it was a great experience to be able to call it.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, a great game. A great game. That's really cool. How has that radio experience been for you? I mean, coming from being on the field and now calling the game, I mean, what a unique opportunity.
Yeah, it really is great because, when you leave the game, think about, we were talking about earlier, I played and concentrated on playing at a higher level at age 16. So you get all the way through and then you play 15 years where you didn't expect to play that long, but it's all you've ever done. So now you're looking around like, what am I going to do now? So the radio opportunity was great because it kept me around the game. Like I have the opportunity every Sunday to explain what's going on.
Yeah.
And there's not a whole lot of prep other than watching a little bit of film. It's from playing. These are why things
you just show
happen,
up.
good or bad. And, I just have to know who I'm talking about with the depth charts and be able to pronunciate their names, which isn't getting any easier.
No.
But really, it's great. And for a long time there, I got to still see the guys that I played with, and later, a lot of them became coaches, and some of them are still around. So there's, it's good. It kind of breaks up to week two, but it's good just to be able to stay around what you've done for so long and is a big part of your life.
Do you miss playing?
I don't now. Initially, I did a little bit, but like I said, my situation was a little unique.
Yeah, you
because
made it. Well.
I did get to retire when I was ready to retire. So when I was done, I was done. But most players, even if they do play 10, they're not quite done and it's not out of their system yet, But I was fortunate enough that I got to play to where when I was done, I was done.
Yeah, that's good that you made it full circle and you felt like it
But
was
it's still
time
good
to
to
hang.
stay around it, doing the radio. I mean, even the coaching,
Yeah. Stay in the game. That's a part of it.
For sure.
Yeah. It's really cool. It's really cool, and the story is unique, and it's cool how I like that you stayed in the area here and have been able to help the locals and the local businesses and still give back in a way probably that you never saw coming in terms of the insurance and all that, but still important. Still extremely important.
St. Pete's always been I was on the board at the All Children's for 9 years, back from 2000 to 2009, and. We do some work with St. Vincent de Paul, who's done a great job, and their track record of getting people into permanent housing is really been unmatched. So they're expanding more around Florida in general, and then obviously helping advise some of the young business owners and homeowners and trying to navigate through the disastrous insurance world right now.
Yeah.
A lot of tough conversations because, if you're a business owner, it's your bottom line. That's a bottom line expense that, you try to limit if you can, but at the same time, it protects your business. So
it exposes you if you don't.
Right.
Could wipe the whole thing out. Shifting gears a little bit to food. Where do you like to eat around this area? St. Pete, the beaches. What's your go-to?
Well, the Island Way Grill, I got to put a plug in for that.
Well, that would make sense.
Yes,
yeah,
but
yeah.
Social Roost, I like
I like that.
On the beach,
Yeah.
middle grounds is good. I'll go to Krabby's. Krabby's I'll go by bike or boat.
Yeah.
Krabby's on the pass. But downtown, the Sosa Roost is one that, I like to frequent. Engine number 9 is good for lunch. Good burgers.
Good burgers. Yeah.
And we have a lot of meetings when we meet people.
Yeah.
That's usually where we
Engine
go.
number 9. Yeah.
Hawkers
right around the
is
corner
good.
from there. Yeah.
I like going down to Doc Ford's, when we have lunch meetings and stuff.
Go down there, and you had mentioned where are you? Krabby's by boat. I was gonna say what's your place to go by boat, but that's
Krabby's, Sea Dog, the Elks, American Legion. No, I haven't been to them recently. But the quickest and easiest right around the corner in Johns Pass.
Yeah. That's cool. It's always fun to hear where people like to go.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean,
there's so many new places.
Yeah, they're popping up so
downtown.
fast. That's why we keep a list of all the spots.
There's plenty that I probably would really enjoy.
Yeah.
I spend a little more time.
Yeah.
In the downtown.
Yeah. So what's next? What's next for you? It sounds like you got 25 employees. Things are moving. I mean, what's next now?
We're just going to try to. The only thing that really separates insurance agencies, other than what I was talking about earlier with the carriers they have access to, is just customer service. So we concentrate on that. Everybody that's renewing, we try to look at it ahead of time to see if there's something better for them.
Right.
When I first started, one of the most common statements I would get from people is, my agent worked hard to write this policy 3 years ago, and I haven't heard from them since. I just get the bill in the mail. So we try to proactively keep an eye out to make sure that they're, where they should be, because the market does change.
Mm-hmm.
And I think eventually we'd like to get another location over in Tampa. We've looked at that before. We do write a lot of the business stuff over there.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, just across the bridge seems forever away for them.
Well, I was just going to say it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Something about that bridge. I mean, we had across it today. We have a property going live over there, and it's like, man, this is just different. The Tampa people will come to St. Pete, but St. Pete doesn't like to go to Tampa.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know why that is. The cultures are different.
They are, for sure. It's just a different feel.
Definitely. Yeah. Between, a little more free, relaxed, and Tampa's just city.
Right.
That's how I look at that.
And then they have their little, Soho and their little South Tampa cliques.
Yeah. Hey, I wasn't going to go there, but you did. It's all right. It's all right. If people want to find you, what's the best way?
DaveMooreInsurance.com. And we are on 46th and Central.
Yep.
So if you're on that Central Avenue corridor, you're going to pass us.
Stop on in. If you got any insurance questions, these are your guys.
Dave Moore Insurance.
DaveMooreInsurance.com. They will help you out. If they've made it this far, Dave, they're still listening with us, because people's attention spans are this long. So we like to applaud those that are still here with us. What if they're going to leave a comment below? What should be the one word that they leave?
Enjoyable.
Enjoyable. Oh, I like that. If you're still with us, enjoyable, Mom. I know you're still watching. Thank you. Appreciate that. Comment enjoyable. Dave Moore Resource Insurance. Check them out. They're awesome. These guys are great. They're going to give you great customer service and do wonderful things. If it has insurance in the name, doesn't matter what it is, give these guys a call. Dave, we appreciate you. Thanks for being here. It was a pleasure.
Enjoyed it.
Boom. That was good. Yeah. I know we were jumping around, but that's how my brain works. Yeah, keep people in.
I'm ADD as hell.